First of all, these figures have just come out. What do you make of them in the broad sense?
I think that they show the scandal of the promise made by politicians repeatedly that they could cut immigration to the tens of thousands, and then to throw their hands up in the air and say there's nothing we can do because Brussels has taken away our control over immigration. We've now got a city the size of Oxford from the EU alone, 333,000 net from all around the world. The situation is completely out of control. The only way to sort it out is vote leave on June the 23rd and take back control.
But Boris Johnson, you say it's a scandal of politicians making that promise. It's your party that's consistently made that promise.
I agree, and I think that the only way to rectify that mistake is to vote leave.
So it was a mistake. Just to be clear, you're saying it was a mistake to have the 100,000 target.
Yes, I do, because there was no way in the EU of making it work, and that is the outrageous thing. And what we have, I'm pro-immigration. You know, London's thrived with immigration. But what you need is a controlled system. You need to be able to say to people from Australia, yes, we want your brilliant paramedics, or to India, yes, we want your fantastic engineers, or Chinese students, or whatever. But it's crazy when we're pushing those people away and have absolutely no control over huge numbers of people coming from the EU 28. Now, that is one of the fundamental things a state should be able to do. It should be able to reflect the will of its people expressed at an election and control numbers coming in. We have lost control, and it's time to take it back.
Would you have any limit on numbers of people coming in?
I think that the obvious thing to do is to use either an Australian-based system or
but that's about the system. Would you put a limit? Would you give a numerical limit?
I think that the pledge that was made at the election was actually quite reasonable to bring it down to the tens of thousands. What was not reasonable was to say you could do it within the EU system. And you can't, because the EU basically treats Britain as though we're part of one country called Europe, and there are no immigration, there are no borders. Before people say that this is some fundamental principle of EU law, it is not a fundamental principle of EU law. It has been greatly amplified and extended since Maastricht and the concept of EU citizenship in 1991. It is not the law of the Medes and the Persians. It can be deviated from. The only way to change this is to vote leave on June the 23rd.
I know you're short of time, but just finally, as a politician who has been pro-immigration for many years, it seems like you are using these figures to try to whip up fears of immigration in the referendum campaign.
Absolutely not. I'm the beneficiary of immigration. My family come from immigrants. I'm the proud descendant of immigrants. I was until recently the mayor of a city that, as I say, has thrived from immigration. This is a point about democracy. It's a point about public consent for what is taking place. There is no public consent for the scale of immigration we are seeing. There is no public control. People feel that this is happening completely outside their ability to determine it. And that is wrong.
But you've been part of a party, a senior figure in a party that has been running the country for 6 years now, presiding over this scale of immigration, and now it's in the campaign that you say it's a scandal, it's anti-democratic. Some people will believe you are trying to use this to get more support in the campaign.
Back at the speech I made at a Tory party conference only a couple of years ago, I made exactly the same point. You've got to have control. This is about democracy. It's about public consent. It's about people's feeling that they're in charge of their country. If our population goes up to 70 or 80 million, as it is currently predicted to do very, very rapidly, that is going to be one of the biggest changes in the lives of people of this country for generations. The pressure on public services that people are already feeling, on the health service, on school places, and all the rest of it. People deserve to think that their politicians are able to determine this and to have some say in the matter. And if they elect them on a manifesto to bring it down to the tens of thousands, then I think they're entitled to see that pledge fulfilled. And what I think is cynical and unacceptable is to say that you can fulfill that pledge when manifestly you can't because of the EU regime. So the only way to sort it out is to take back control.
So the Prime Minister's manifesto misled people then? That's what you're saying?
I do think that it was a mistake, as I've said earlier on, to say to people that we could control immigration and bring it down to the tens of thousands when in the EU system we simply
But you've just said
do
more
not
than that.
have
You've said
the
it was
tools to
you've
do
said
so.
it was cynical to make that promise and stay in the EU. Now that's
I
a
think
different
it-
thing.
I-
You're
you
suggesting it was misleading people. We can't do it. If
I
we're in
think
the
it is cynical to say that we can continue to control immigration from the EU when we can't. And it's also, I think, wrong to continue with an immigration policy that effectively discriminates against talented people from Australia, from India, from China, elsewhere, who are struggling to get here. I mean, look at the story today about the Brain family in Scotland. I only had a chance to read it very quickly, but it seemed to me that they are being deported back to Australia in a way that strikes many people as being unjust. Now that, unless I miss my guess, that is a function of our massively lopsided, asymmetrical immigration system, which pushes away some people, but has absolutely no ability to discriminate in the case of the EU 28. That needs to be sorted out. The only way to do it is to have a sensible policy based on the economic needs of this country, working with business, working with agriculture, with the universities, all the sectors that the arts world, all the sectors that are keen to encourage immigration, as indeed I am, and get the balance right. At the moment, the balance is simply not right.
Boris Johnson, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks.